Hey guys, today we are watching our first video in class to take our notes over our first lesson. Okay, so we're going to start from the very beginning. This is going to be your notes journal. I want you to open up to the very first page in your journal, and we're going to label this table of contents. So at the top of your page, write table of contents. And this is where we're going to list the name of our lessons throughout the year. Our first lesson is Chapter 1, Lesson 1. That's what the 1-1 means. And it is titled Integers and Graphing. After you write that, I want you to skip a couple pages so you have space to write the name of your lessons in your table of contents. Okay, and we're going to title Lesson 1 today. It's 1-1 for Chapter 1, Lesson 1, Integers and Graphing. We have two objectives. Our first objective is 6.2b. I can identify a number and its opposite. Our second objective is 6.2c. I can locate, compare, and order integers. Okay. Now you might be wondering, well, what is an integer? Okay. I want you to underline and highlight or box in the word integer. This is our vocabulary word for this lesson. Positive whole numbers, their opposites, and 0 are called integers. Okay. Go ahead and box in integers here as well, and you may also underline it. Okay. Now we're going to look at some integers on a number line. So go ahead and draw your number line. Well, where do we always start on a number line? We always start at 0. Okay. My first number is positive 1. The opposite of positive 1 is negative 1. Okay, these two numbers are opposites. Okay. My whole numbers are all my numbers that go to the right on the number line. They're my positive numbers. Okay. So let's go ahead and write positive 1. We have positive 2. Positive 3, positive 4, okay, and we can even write it just with the number by itself without the plus sign. It still means that it's a positive number. Okay, so these are all of my whole numbers on a number line. Well, we know that the opposite of positive 1 is negative 1. So what do you think the opposite of positive 2 will be? That's right, it's going to be negative 2. Okay. So negative 2 and positive 2 are also opposites. Okay. The opposite of positive 3 is negative 3. Okay, and so forth. The opposite of positive 4 is negative 4, and the opposite of positive 5 is going to be negative 5. Okay, so here we've represented our integers on our number line. On a horizontal number line, the numbers on the left are negative, and our numbers on the right are positive. Okay. Okay, well, what do we know about whole numbers and integers? Well, whole numbers and integers have no fractional or decimal parts. Okay, no fractions or decimals. Okay. A whole number has no negatives. Okay, so only an integer can include negative and positive numbers. Okay. Well, what about 0? 0 is not positive or negative. Okay, what we like to say is that 0 is special. It's our special little friend. Okay, not positive or negative. Okay. Well, why do we need integers? You might be wondering, how can I actually use this in the real world? Why is this important to me? Okay, well, we use integers to show when someone owes money, loss of yards in football. Integers can also be used to show a withdrawal from a bank account. Okay, a withdrawal meaning that you're taking money out of your account. Okay, or we can also use integers to show a deposit into a bank account, okay, when you're putting money in. Okay, do you think a withdrawal would be shown using a positive or negative integer? Think about that for a minute. That's right, a withdrawal would be a negative, okay, because you're taking it away. And a deposit, putting in, think of adding it into your account, that would be a positive. Okay, let's look at an example. Okay, I have some whole numbers, integers, and rational numbers. Okay, you need to draw this table on your page. Don't worry about your lines being straight or perfect. Mine are a little crooked too, it's okay. I just want you to make sure that you have enough space for all your numbers. Okay, so our first number is 0. Okay. Okay, well, what do we know about 0? Is 0 a whole number? Yes, it is. Okay. Is 0 an integer? Well, we learned that integers include whole numbers, their opposites, and 0. So it is an integer. Okay. Is 0 a rational number? So think back to when you learned about rational numbers. Rational numbers are any numbers that can be represented as a fraction. Okay, we can write 0 as a fraction, so it is also a rational number. Okay, we can write it as 0 over 0. Okay. What about positive 1? Is it a whole number? Yes, because we know all whole numbers start at 0 on a number line and go to the right, so 0, 1, 2, 3, and 4. Is it an integer? Yes, we know that integers includes whole numbers. Okay, is it a rational number? It is a rational number. Okay, we can write 1 as 1 over 1. Okay, we know that's the same as 1 whole. What about negative 1? Okay, well, we know that whole numbers do not include negatives. Okay, so it's not a whole number. Is it an integer? It is an integer. Okay. Is it a rational number? Can you write it as a fraction? We can. We can write it as negative 1 over 1. It's the same as negative 1. Okay. Next we have positive 2. We know it's a whole number. We know it's an integer. Okay. And we know that we can also write positive 2 as 2 over 1 in fraction form. That's the same as 2. So it is a rational number. Okay. What about negative 2? Okay. I know you're thinking, nope, I know that's not a whole number because it's negative. I know it is an integer, and it is a rational number. Okay. What if I give you 1/4? Is 1/4 a whole number? No, it is not a whole number because it's a fraction. It doesn't have any wholes. Okay. What about an integer? No, it's not an integer because we know integers do not include fractions or decimals. Is it a rational number? Well, yes, it's a number that can be written as a fraction. Okay, so it is a rational number. What about 1/2? Okay, nope, it's not a whole. It isn't an integer. It is only a rational number. Okay, give yourself a pat on the back. Good job on that. That was a lot of numbers to look at. Okay, let's look at a real life example. Okay, example 1, a sea star can be found at an ocean depth of 2 feet. Okay, when we're talking about depth, that means below, like going down into the sea. We want to represent this location on a number line. Okay, notice this time my number line is up and down, it's vertical. Okay, so think about this going up into the sky, okay? Okay, we're always going to start at 0. So in this example, what do you think 0 would represent if you're thinking about the real world? That's right, you would be at sea level, you would be on the ground. And if we're going down below, that means we're going to go down our number line. And if we're going below ground or into the ocean, do you think those are going to be positive or negative numbers? They're going to be negative. Okay. We're going down to 2 feet. So we have -1, -2. This is where our sea star is. Okay. Okay, next example. Okay, example 2. Okay. It says James owes $4 to the bank. Okay, owes is the action. He did not have the $4 to begin with. Okay, so he owes it, so this is going to be represented by a -4. Okay. Victor deposited $2 in his account. He added $2 to his bank account. Okay, so the action is deposited. He put more money in, so that's going to be represented by a +2. And last, Max owes $1 to his dad. Okay, so again, the action is owes. He didn't have it to begin with, so this is going to be represented by a -1. He owes it. Okay. Next, we want to draw a number line. Okay. Then we're going to draw a point at the location of each integer. Okay, so go ahead and draw your number line. We know that we're always going to start at 0. And I'm going to represent all of my positive numbers with blue, the color blue. And all of my negatives are going to be red. Okay. Notice that my intervals on my number line, the spacing in between my numbers is even. Okay, that's really important. You want your spacing to be the same. Let's get this down a little bit. Okay, now we're going to plot our 3 integers. So the integers that we're going to put on our number line, -4, +2, and -1. James owes $4. It's -4. Okay. You want to put your dot on the number line. Okay. Notice how my points on the number line are not flying or floating in the air. They're directly on my line. Okay. We're going to label this J for James. Okay. Victor deposited $2. I'm going to represent him with a +2 and V for Victor. And then Max owes -1. So it's going to be M for Max. Okay. Okay. On the number line, I can see that James has the least amount of money. Okay. From the further left on your number line, the smaller your number. Okay. So if we were to order James, Max, and Victor in order from least to greatest, James would have the least. Max would be next, and then Victor has the most. Okay, guys, so we're going to stop here for now. Now you should be able to identify whole numbers, integers, and rational numbers. Give yourself a pat on the back. Good job.